This is everything wrong with the new Buffies coming into Brawl Stars. Now, as you guys know, Supercell teased these new Buffies a couple of weeks ago, and they're confirmed to be released in the next Brawl Stars update. A lot of people are really hyped about this new permanent add-on, but there's a lot of underlying issues about these Buffies that a lot of players don't know about. And these Buffies can potentially ruin Brawl Stars completely. I'm serious, bro. Make sure to like and subscribe because I'm on my way to 200,000 subscribers, so subscribe or you will turn into a Buffy, okay? Now, before I talk about the main issues about these Buffies, you're probably wondering, what in the El Primus is a Buffy, bro? Well, to sum it up, it's basically a new feature to completely avoid the introduction of Power 12 brawlers. Buffies will pretty much be able to buff your gadget, star power, or hypercharge by adding unique features and add-ons. Each brawler would essentially be getting 3 Buffies, one for both gadgets, which is called the Gadget Buffy, one for both star powers, which is called the Star Power Buffy, and finally one for the good old hypercharge, and you guessed it, it's called a Hyper Buffy. Now, the way you can unlock Buffies is actually pretty interesting, but also very expensive. Brawl Stars is introducing the good old claw machine, and this is where you'll be able to unlock Buffies. Each pull from the claw machine will cost you 1,000 coins and 2,000 power points, and each claw machine has Buffies of a limited number of brawlers. You can also purchase Buffies for gems later on, which is pretty cool as well. Supercell also mentioned that each player will get a free pull from the claw machine when it gets released, so every player will be getting a random Buffy completely for free in the next update, and that's for a brawler who'll be getting a Buffy in the next update. Now, if you somehow manage to get all the possible Buffies from the claw machine, you can spend 10,000 bling per pull and unlock different skins for your Buffies. 10,000 bling, bro, what? Now, on top of all this, Supercell will completely remove epic and mythic gears because of the release of Buffies, and players will actually be refunded for these gears. And apparently, they're also going to make gadgets as a joystick and aimable control when Buffies get released. So the mechanics and gameplay of Brawl Stars will slightly change, which means that a lot of players will have to learn and adjust to this new mechanic. Now, Buffies are pretty interesting, but if you think about it, Supercell is pretty much adding Power 12 into the game, just in a more creative way. Like, they did confirm that they aren't going to add Power 12, but if you think about it, Buffies are just a way to buff the abilities of a brawler, while Power 12 just increases the damage and health of a brawler. So Buffies are basically a creative Power 12 or Power 11.5, whatever you want to call it, bro. And yeah, if you've made it this far into the video, comment your thoughts on Buffies. Alright, now let's talk about the main issues with Buffies, because there's a lot of issues, bro. Now, these are just my opinions and thoughts of Buffies. Some players might agree with me, some might disagree with me. That's alright, that's a skill issue. But yeah, the first issue is the cost of obtaining these Buffies. I don't know if you heard this right, but 1,000 coins and 2,000 power points for one pull from the claw machine? Bro. Now, this isn't really an issue for pay-to-win players. If you're like me and you have the Brawl Pass or Brawl Pass Plus every season, you can open 50 million claw machines, bro, no problem. But if you're a free-to-play player, a player who's still unlocking and maxing out brawlers, Buffies are going to be brutal for progression. Like, keep in mind that there's a lot of players who are still progressing their account. This includes unlocking brawlers that cost thousands of credits and maxing out these brawlers which cost hundreds of coins and power points, bro. Yes, the same coins and power points you need in order to use the claw machine to unlock Buffies. Like, I get that Supercell is trying to add some new permanent changes and stuff, but it is going to be extremely difficult for free-to-play players to progress and catch up, especially because of the cost of unlocking Buffies. By the way, there's a new brawler that comes out every season, which players also need to unlock and max out, by the way. When Buffies are introduced, it's just going to be a pain to max out these brawlers and unlock Buffies at the same time, because on top of the release of new brawlers, Brawl Stars will probably be adding new Buffies every update, which you have to unlock by spending 1,000 coins and 2,000 power points. And keep in mind that every brawler is expected to have 3 Buffies, so if we do the math, that is 291 Buffies for 97 brawlers, bro. Now, I do have to admit, this claw machine does address the power points inflation that some players have been facing, but you have to keep in mind that there's still a shortage of coins for many players. And the fact that the claw machine will also cost 1,000 coins might be an issue for some free-to-play players. You also get a random Buffy from the claw machine, so if you get a Buffy that you didn't want, well, that's too bad. You're gonna have to use it, bro. Alright, on to the second issue with Buffies, and this is a big one. And that's going to be the risk of shifting the meta and making some brawlers way too overpowered. Now, I don't know if you noticed this, but this is kind of like the release of hypercharges all over again. I mean, do you understand how chaotic the release of some hypercharges were? I mean, Kit's hypercharge is a perfect example of this. This hypercharge was broken for a good month or two, bro. Now, the point that I'm trying to make here is that some release of Buffies could potentially make some brawlers way too broken to a point where the game is completely unplayable. And this will simply be annoying and difficult to counter. It could basically end up like the release of some hypercharges all over again. Now, if Supercell properly balances a Buffy upon release, then this issue can potentially be avoidable. And the release of Buffies itself will also change the meta and shift it a lot. Now, this could be a good thing and also a bad thing. Some brawlers that you never thought would be at the S tier might suddenly become meta after the release of their Buffies. Colt, for example, has some pretty promising Buffies. For his first gadget, the Buffy pretty much allows him to steal ammo if his bullets from his gadget hits. For the second gadget, the bullet he uses to destroy walls is pretty much wider and does more damage with the Buffy. For the first star power, the Buffy allows Colt to gain a burst of movement speed every time his attack hits. And then for the second star power, the Buffy allows Colt to do more damage if the enemy is far away. And finally, for Colt's hypercharge, the Buffy allows Colt to unload his attack much faster with the hypercharge, and the hypercharge itself lasts for an extra 2 seconds. So you can see that these Buffies literally buff the brawlers and change some of their mechanics, so you can expect a lot of shifts in the meta once these Buffies release. This can be a good thing because we can finally see a new and unique meta instead of the boring Cordelia's Lily meta. I mean, I'm so sick of this meta, bro. But it can also be very annoying because if these Buffies end up being way too broken, the meta is gonna end up being extremely annoying. I mean, I'm gonna just play map maker if that happens, bro. Another small issue about Buffies is the fact that it's randomized from the claw machine. I think it's really weird for Brawl Stars to add RNG stuff back into the game. Like, they removed mega boxes and brawl boxes because they wanted the rewards to feel less randomized. Then they proceed to add this, bro. I'm honestly not a fan of the claw machine concept. It's pretty much forcing players to allocate more resources into a randomized Buffy in order to stay on top of the meta. Like, what if you get a Buffy that you never want to use, bro? There goes your 1,000 coins and 2,000 power points, bro. It honestly would have been cool to have Buffies included as a randomized reward from the good old star drops, boxes, and the other 50 million reward things they have. Now, Brawl Stars did introduce chaos drops, and you do have a 24.7% chance of getting a Buffy only if you manage to land the ultra rarity on the chaos drops. Now, that may sound great, but you're not always guaranteed to get the ultra rarity on the chaos drops, and the chances of splitting your chaos drops further could potentially be low. I'm not really sure what the rarity chances for chaos drops are because Supercell hasn't revealed it yet, but let's hope they aren't like regular star drops, bro. One feature I do like about the chaos drops though is the fact that whatever rarity you get, that rarity will be the same for all your split drops. So if you get the ultra rarity and your chaos drops split into 8, you pretty much get to open 8 of the ultra rarity chaos drops. And as a free-to-play player, you can get a total of 6 chaos drops from the Brawl Pass. Now, Supercell did mention that they're adding an extra 1,000 coins and also a resource key which can be exchanged for 2,000 power points in the free track. So that extra 1,000 coins and 2,000 power points is equivalent to a free Buffy. Now, it looks like Brawl Stars is really trying to help free-to-play players get Buffies, but it would have been so much better to allow players to use those extra resources towards maxing out their brawlers. I think that Brawl Stars should have given free-to-play players a free Buffy key at the end of every Brawl Pass instead of giving out the Buffy key in the paid track. It would honestly help free-to-play players a lot, especially considering the fact that each brawler will have 3 Buffies. Now, keep in mind that Buffies have not been finalized yet and they were only teased by Brawl Stars. This means that they might make some adjustments before the Brawl Talk and future updates in order to tweak Buffies. I honestly think that the concept of Buffies are really cool and it's great to see Brawl Stars introducing new concepts and ideas to the game. Like, they could have straight up introduced Power 12 and call it a day, but this just shows that the developers were dedicated to making something very cool and unique. With that being said, here are my proposed solutions that I think will improve the concept of Buffies. Brawl Stars, you better be taking notes, okay? Now, firstly, I think that reducing the cost of the claw machine by a bit in later updates would be extremely helpful for free-to-play players. I get that there's a power point inflation and all, but 2,000 power points is still crazy, bro, especially in the long run. So something like 750 coins and 1,000 power points for the claw machine could be a bit better later on as they release more Buffies. Another solution would be to implement more tests on the Buffies to ensure that they won't completely break the game. I mean, the last thing that players want is another kid hypercharge. That thing was way too broken when it was released, bro. If Brawl Stars releases fairly balanced Buffies, I don't really see an issue with the meta shifts. Like, yeah, obviously Buffies have to buff the brawler and make them a bit more stronger, but let's just hope that Brawl Stars doesn't make those brawlers a bit too strong. Like, I don't want to get two-shotted by a Colt, bro. And even if Brawl Stars ends up releasing a very broken Buffy, it's not the end of the world because Brawl Stars will eventually nerf the Buffy and restore balance for our beloved meta. Another solution that Brawl Stars can consider is making Buffies more accessible to free-to-play players rather than only having them in the claw machine and chaos drops. It would be really cool to get Buffies from other reward systems like mega boxes, sushi rolls, and even star drops. Like, even if Brawl Stars makes the chances of getting Buffies from these rewards extremely low, like 0.0001%, you will still have a chance of getting one at the end of the day, which is good enough. Brawl Stars can also consider giving out a Buffy key in the free Brawl Pass track every season as they release more Buffies. Currently, Buffies are very new, so I understand why they're making it a bit difficult for players to get, but as they release more Buffies, it would make sense to make some changes and adjustments in order to help players progress a bit faster, especially free-to-play players who may be unlocking brawlers still. Overall though, the concept of Buffies are pretty cool, and I am still excited to see what Brawl Stars will be cooking up in the new Brawl Talk. But yeah, if you enjoyed this video, click on this video to see a full guide on how to use GG in Brawl Stars.